Hey there friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I want to talk about one of the major pain points in Marvel Rivals that's already popping up amongst players, and that is whether or not the game needs a role queue to survive long term. And I personally don't think so, even though I do understand why players might already be frustrated. So first off, if you play Marvel Rivals, you will load in the game and the majority will insta-lock Duelist. And I understand it, DPS is always the most fun style of play in these types of games, but if you only play Duelist, you have zero right to complain when you don't get enough strategists or vanguards on your team. You are getting out of the game what you put into it. So if you get a team that is all 6 Duelists, that is on you if you will never switch. And I don't feel sympathy for anybody who does that. I personally play a lot of strategists or a lot of vanguard, but there are certain games where I really want to play Duelist, and I'm not going to swap off if everybody else is being stubborn and refusing to switch as well. And honestly, you can find some interesting team compositions if you do that as well. There are certain characters which blur the lines between a traditional DPS character and a tank. You've got Wolverine, who's got some tank-like properties. You've got Iron Fist, who can overheal and then regen health himself. So there's a lot of different characters who you can fit into a team comp that might not be in the mold that you would expect. During the ranked games for the beta and all that kind of stuff that came out, during some of the tournament play we saw, there were some very wild groups. You had teams that were 3 Vanguard and 3 Strategists. You had teams that were 3 Duelist, 2 Strategists, and 1 Vanguard. And even on top of that, you had the traditional 2-2-2 formula as well. Not only that, but the developers have come out and stated they don't want Vanguard to be tank 1-for-1. They don't want Strategists to be support. They don't want Duelists to be a DPS specifically. They want them to be a bit more flexible and fit into these roles, but not be confined by them. And that's where I think people need to look at the game differently for a couple different reasons. First and foremost, when you are playing quick play, wins don't matter ultimately. I know everyone loves to win. You're going to have more fun when you're winning, but if you have a team that refuses to pick Strategist or Vanguard at all, just pick whatever character you want to learn. There's no way that everybody has already mastered all 33 characters. I know some people are going to find their one main, that's all they want to play, but for most people, you should be using this time to experiment, try different characters, learn different moves and combinations that work well, learn how to burst characters down and defeat them as quickly as possible, learn the maps, learn where the health packs are, learn the different ways you can launch players off the map or use the destructible environments to your advantage. And none of that happens if you're so hyper focused on winning that you refuse to play a comp that's going to be effective, but also you refuse to try out new characters because you have the one that you want to play and that's final. So I do feel like having that flexibility is very important for players in order to learn the game long term. If you are able to play as a character, you're going to understand better how to defeat that character as well. So I think that's another valuable piece of information. But ultimately, I don't think role queue should be in the game for 2 specific reasons. One, we saw that it limited players in Overwatch over the course of time. It limited team composition and flexibility, and it limited creative ideas. Something that I think has really hurt Overwatch, and it felt like the game became so stale, and it felt like every game was the same. There wasn't enough variety. Whereas with no role queue, you will have obviously a ton of variety. Every game could feel different. Once you get into ranked, there will be metas that will form, there will be certain characters, but with all the different team ups and everything that you can have in the game, there is a bit more flexibility than you would have in a game like Overwatch. So I think the potential there to have that variety of different team comps with non-standard groupings is there and could be potentially very, very fun to play as well. The other major thing that I think people don't think about, obviously you've got the long queue times when you are picking specific roles, but then you also have to understand that it almost forces the developers to go 1-1-1 when they are adding new characters in order to make everything feel even. Yes, I do believe that the Marvel Rivals devs should have added more Vanguard and Strategist characters before launch. It felt like we got Duelist, maybe a tank, maybe we got one Vanguard, which was Captain America. Since the last beta, we got one Strategist, which was Cloak and Dagger, and that's all. The rest were all Duelist. And so I do understand that frustration. I think, especially going into Season 1, I hope that we get more variety there, but I don't feel like we need to go 1-1-1 if there is no role queue, because you can have that flexibility. If you have more characters, say you have a Invisible Woman, Sue Storm from the Fantastic Four, who pops in the game, and she's got a bubble over shield, and she's got her invisibility, and she has a kit that is a lot different from a standard Strategist or a standard DPS or a standard Vanguard, but combines a little bit of all of that. I think that's where the game could be more exciting, because there are flex options. That's another thing, is that with no role queue, you will have more flex characters. You don't need two of everything in order to be successful. I played a game earlier today where I had 2-2-2 on my team, and the other team had 4 duelists, and they ended up winning because my duelists could not win their fights, and so they were getting defeated immediately as soon as the game started and they walked onto the zone, and that left everybody else fighting for their life, and the other team was outputting so much damage, they just were bursting us down before we could do anything, no matter what healers and tanks we had. It was pretty insane to watch, and I thought it was also very eye-opening, because I do feel like players don't understand that when you are locked into roles like that, you are limited in the creativity that you can have. And that's what I hope from Marvel Rivals that we see over the long haul. I want the game to be creative. It'll be a little chaotic. It'll be a little bit unbalanced. And I think that's fine, as long as things aren't so broken that that's the only character or set of characters you can play. As long as the majority of characters are viable, then things being a little broken is fine, because everything is broken. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you in favor of a role queue or not? Would you prefer to see some other idea instead? My name is JoPa. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.
You're never alone. These come in real handy. We don't stop until we reach Yggdrasil.